How's it going, ParaTruthers? Welcome to another episode of ParaTruth Reborn. This is a pre-recorded show on 107.7 New Orleans and United Public Radio Network. My name's Justin.
And I'm Erik.
And tonight we are excited to bring on Tim Sudano to talk about paranormal investigations and ghost hunting and all the stuff that we love to talk about. Tim is the host of the acclaimed podcast, Paranormal Insight. Each week, Tim delves into the mysterious realms of the paranormal, engaging listeners with fascinating stories and insights brought to the airwaves by enigmatic guests. Before embarking on his podcasting journey, Tim had a diverse career path. He began as a private investigator, honing his skills in uncovering secrets and solving mysteries. His adventurous spirit led him to NASA, where he learned more than he probably should. Additionally, Tim had a brief but impactful experience in the U.S. Air Force through the ROTC program at St. Jose State College. Today, Tim channels his passion for storytelling into filmmaking and boasts several award-winning films to his credit. He also serves as the lead investigator of the Seekers of California for Ethereal Investigation. Scary. I'm just going to say scary from now on. Combining his investigative expertise with his love for the paranormal, Tim's unique blend of experiences makes him a compelling and contributing voice in the world of the paranormal. Tim, welcome to ParaTruth Reborn. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And just the fact that we're both on the same network really helps as well.
It sure does.
So for those of you that are watching, listening right now, we are doing a two-parter. So we're having Tim on our show and we're going to be on his show. When does your show usually air, Tim?
It'll air on Thursday, April 3rd, after your show.
All right. So same question we pretty much ask everybody. What got you into the weird and strange?
The weird and strange has been happening to me my entire life. No real joke there. I saw my first full-bodied apparition, ghost, when I was like 3 or 4. And
wow.
I mean, color. She was transparent-ish, but she was there. And head to toe. And it was an experience, let me tell you. Follow me that I've experienced several different, I guess you can call it telepathic and or psychic phenomena myself, including telepathy. I see auras, still do to this day. I thought I outgrew it and actually tested myself, and hey, I could still see them. I had telepathic experiments, mind to mind. That was super intriguing. Naturally, all these things surround like the most banal thing. Oh, and I predicted the future once. I had a bout of clairvoyance when I was a teenager. So, and I mean verbatim, predicted an event. It was, again, a total banal event, but it happened to me. So all these things culminated, and I kept hearing other people's ghost stories. Then Ghost Hunters comes out, and I'm thinking to myself, well, shoot, I'm the one with the investigation background, and I should be doing ghost stuff too. And so I talked to a buddy of mine, his name's Henry, and very good friend of mine. He passed in 2021, excuse me. Not from COVID, from other complications. So, but we started Scary together, and we investigated a whole bunch of things, and we've been doing it. I've been doing it with our third partner, JJ Rose. She's our psychic on the team. We've been. I answered your question. We've been doing it pretty much since 2011.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, you did. You went through the entire gamut. You're good.
Okay.
So speaking of scary though, because we had a paranormal investigative group once upon a time, and our whole story of how we started it was a little weird and wild. So what got you and your friend to decide, hey, let's start this investigative team and actually go out and do this stuff officially?
it was a matter of being in a situation where, if you look at all these different paranormal investigative shows, they really just kind of leave everyone hanging. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see if there was a way we can go out there and do our thing. And I'm sorry, I goofed my camera adjustment there. Do our thing and see if we could actually help people solve their issues. And so, you know, I talked to my buddy Henry about it, and he says, yeah, I'm game. And Henry was the perfect yin to my yang, so to speak, in that Henry was the scientist, you know, computer programmer, financier. I mean, the guy was just an absolute genius. And he was always quick to pick up on very rational explanations. Versus me, who was more like Mulder. I wanted to believe, but I still wanted to find empirical evidence too. So I was more versed in the, I guess, the spiritual side of things, so to speak, with regard to ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, all that stuff. So that doesn't really mean spiritual, does it? But anyway, that side of things. And he was all about, you know, finding the empirical evidence to either back up those claims or to dispel them. And so we were a really good team in that regard. And the goal was to help people, not just leave them hanging. Yep, you have ghosts, gotta go. Right. I mean,
it's probably going to get worse. Peace.
Yeah,
enjoy.
Exactly. We're not going to drum up everything by talking them left, right, and center. Oh my gosh. I mean, for a bunch of so-called seasoned investigators on this TV show, they do some really stupid things sometimes.
They really do. It always amazes me watching them go into, you know, a civilian's home who's seriously scared, and then they provoke the heck out of everything, you know. It's like there's no way you're leaving that place better than what you found it. It's gonna be worse no matter what you do, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's like, geez.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. There's always a. I'm sorry, Justin. Do you want to say something? Okay.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, I couldn't agree more. It came less and less after the first season of Ghost Hunters. It's hard to pick on Ghost Hunters, but it was because they're good investigators. They do a lot of good stuff initially, and then it seems like the television producers kicked in and said, "Please make it scarier. Please make it more interesting."
Yeah.
They did their best.
When they first started, it was not as engaging, I guess, as it got further down the years.
Yeah, you can say that. It was, well, the first season they had absolutely no hits, if you recall.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. Right. You know, and in their premiere, when they showed took the studio execs or some producer somewhere on a case with them, they were lucky. They got an EVP, and they were able to play it back. And the producer, we got to show the world this whole thing, and that's how they got their show. And like I said, they're good investigators. They were, I think, baited into being more extreme and more careless.
Mm-hmm.
In the field, especially when it came to their junior investigators that they had on the team, because they made a lot of really, well, I guess for lack of a better term, impressive mistakes that not only took away from TAPS, the investigative team's reputation, I guess, but also potentially endangered the client every further, because like you said, they would go into hyper-antagonization. Once in a while, something real would happen. And it seemed to me, especially the junior investigators, did not know how to react. And it seems like every other episode, the junior investigators were getting screamed at for one thing or another. Not screamed at, but certainly disciplined and given a pretty stern talking to about what they did wrong.
Mm.
I understand these guys are learning the job as they go. But they kept making the same mistakes over and over, and it just wasn't really sinking in, and it kept these guys on for decades. And suddenly, a few years down the road, they're suddenly professional. They don't make those mistakes anymore. I mean, it took a lot of bangs on the head to really kind of learn some basic stuff, at least from my perspective.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I was a rookie once too, and it was some hard lessons learned, but there was never me repeating that many mistakes. So the producers came in and did a little writing and tried to create drama where
Right.
No drama is really needed. If you just go with the case, it'll take you where it takes you. That's all there is to it, really.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue with really any investigative TV show, but Ghost Hunters being the first, really, no one really knew how it was going to play out. You know, they probably wanted to keep things realistic, and then they realized, oh wait, our numbers aren't working. We're not getting numbers for this. We need to figure something out, right? And so, yeah, you know, the writers probably tapped in and they're like, all right, let's start making stuff up, right? Let's create the drama. Let's get some more scary things happening. My favorite thing though that happened, well, it's been several years ago now, but when Ghost Hunters officially was sought out and was deemed as people who would create evidence, they would fake evidence on the regular at one point. Yeah. And I didn't believe it because it's like Ghost Hunters, you know, it's Ghost Hunters, right? And I was watching, I forget what episode it was, but it was an episode in which they were on a battleship. I think it might have been, what's the name of it? There's a ship, not a battleship, but there's a ship out in LA, out in California, that it's really popular for.
The Queen Mary?
Yes, the Queen Mary. So there was an episode with the Queen Mary, and I forget the investigator that was on that episode. He's no longer with them, but I remember watching it, and they had a IR camera behind him, and he's walking backwards because he hears a noise, and I just see him. You know, IR cameras, they're not super clear, but clear enough to see some, you know, decent detail. He sticks his hand out from the side of him, like down at his waist, and taps a door as he walks past it. And the door opens and he turns really fast and is like, oh my God, this door just opened. And it's like, bro, I saw it and I just couldn't. I didn't watch them again after that. I was like, I can't believe that. Not only did they fake it, it was clear, and they still released it on TV.
Yeah, they still went with it. Yeah. I know the episode you're talking about. I think they even had a guest investigator on there. His name escapes me now, and he was actually pretty good. He was a psychic, and he made communication with on a separate, television event somewhere a few years back. He actually was saying, "Yeah, there's a little girl down here," and then you hear her say "hello" at the end of this long hallway somewhere in the engine, and that was legit. I was like, "Oh man, that was awesome! That was a good grab." And I've been to that ship myself before. Yeah. So it was, it's spooky. There's that one door where they say the sailor got pinched during somehow the bulkhead got triggered. And so the emergency bulkhead, so it slammed shut on him. Oh, God. That just gave me the chills just thinking about it.
Yeah. I've been there twice. And unfortunately, I haven't been to the pool. Like, they always have the pool closed off, except for night tours, I guess. So that's frustrating, but got to see most of the ship.
But yeah, walking past that thing, I don't claim to be a psychic at all. I mean, I'm an empath to a degree, but nothing compared to my current partner in this, JJ Rose. She's like super amazing, very powerful, right, like 99% of the time. Anyway, so I'm walking past there. I'm in the truck with everyone else, and I stop at the door where the guy got hit. It's like something freaky bad happened here. Like, I was afraid to go through, And then we get through it, and I'm on a tour with my mom, actually. She says, "What are you doing?" She pushes me through, and we get past, and once we get past it, we get told the story. "Oh, yeah, that bulkhead you just passed through, that's where a sailor got crushed." I was like, "Oh, dude, that's messed up." So I picked up on a vibe there. It was scary as hell, believe it or not. But yeah, Ghost Hunters. You know what they started doing toward the end of their first run is because now they have different shows, same people, but they started adding, or I guess the producers and editors started adding like highlighted effects on like shadow people running across the way. And the funny thing is, there's one instance you didn't even need it. It's like it was clear something was going whoosh. It was kind of transparent. It would have been cool just like that. But they had add a shadow highlight. So it's black over this thing, whipping across this bridge somewhere, and it's like, oh man, you guys, and that's when I stopped watching.
Yeah. Like, which I personally, I don't think is a horrible thing to do, so long as you like show the original footage. You're like, hey, look here, we added the shadows so you can get a better,
And that's the thing. They didn't even go that far. They didn't even go that far. And they kept the special effect in the playback too, with the playback section.
Which probably just made it all the more obvious.
Yes. Yes. It was not, it didn't behoove the Ghost Hunters franchise brand anything to do that. I think they were just constantly trying to improve on that. That's not the typical Hollywood thing. I'm a filmmaker. I kind of get it. But at the same time, there's stuff you just leave it alone. No matter what your numbers are. I mean, if you're that interested in the ship, there's enough interest out there in the world, just let them do their thing.
Well, coincidentally enough, Erik is in film as well. So usually I should say that back. I haven't done it lately, but way back when we dismantled the investigative team and when we kind of went our ways for the original podcast we were doing, I would always send stuff to him and be like, can you take a look at this? To me, it doesn't look like it's real, but you've got more know-how in, eliminating all of the colors and everything to figure it out. So that's the one thing that I've loved having him available for, is to be like, take a look at this evidence. Please tell me I'm right, that this is not real.
I feel like there are very few things within the paranormal community that is as satisfying as taking a video or photo and completely tearing it apart and debunking it. Like, it's so fun.
Guilty. I get asked that by my partner and other people in my circle all the time. Tim, is this real? No. There's some things I get that are legit, and it's like, that's a good one, and I tear it apart and run through every filter I got just to make sure it's not.
Yep.
One problem Erik has had is, he's a part of a couple of different paranormal groups. I am, and he'll actually answer people when they're like, hey, take a look at this, what do you guys think? And tear it apart, and they're like, no, that's real. You can see it right there. And him and I will talk about it, and it's like, dude, you're not going to make everybody happy. I mean, there's no reason to get bent out of shape about it. We both do, but it's like, why are you going to sit there and argue when you're asking for help?
Well,
right.
On top of that, I think, there are people who are they're gullible because they want to believe everything is real that they're seeing, right, in the paranormal. So I even did an experiment on one of these Facebook pages. I just so happened to see some weird yard ornament when I was out doing some deliveries one day, like 4 years ago. And I took a picture of it. It looked like some kind of like weird giant monkey thing, but it was just pure white. Like, I don't know what it was. But I posted it, and there were just thousands and thousands of comments and likes and hearts and all this stuff, and people just swear it's a skinwalker, some other creature. And I'm just like rolling because I'm like, dude, there are so many people who believe in this thing, and it is nothing but a lawn ornament. It's just like so sad. It's like I try to argue with them, like, oh no, it's fake. And like, no, it's not fake. It's not fake. I'm like, I mean, I'm the one who took the photo, but okay.
It doesn't get much more clear than that. For sure.
Now, Tim, in your bio, it says that you were a private investigator. So tell us a little bit how you got into that, and then also how you apply that to what you do now.
I got into PI work almost immediately out of high school, actually. Everyone else joined the Army. I went to PI work. And so, I had this notion of being a cop at the same time, especially... Well, not even especially, but at the time, the police weren't really, they didn't have a favorable rep. So it was one of those things where it was, I do want to serve in some capacity. So I took a private investigation, and I apprenticed, and I took all these, different, not classes, but like I said, I apprenticed, and I learned how to do. This is before the internet now, not before myself. Never mind, my birthday was yesterday. 53, do the math, it's okay, I don't care. But so I learned to do all this stuff by hand, where you had to go look through microfiche and look through different files, get court records, and do all that, and do surveillance before it became really dangerous to do surveillance. And so yeah, I did that for a couple of years, and I took investigative classes with cops who were doing their CE, which I suddenly lost continuing education. Sorry, they have to continually update their credentials. So I was very fortunate. I took a bunch of criminology courses with a bunch of cops who were fantastic teachers in their own right. And I learned a lot of great stuff, and I was able to apply some of that. And you don't realize how much detectives, just regular old everyday police detectives, do in the course of their job. Sure, you'll look at evidence. Sure, you might take a picture or two, or have the tech say, "Look at that, give me a chemical composite of what the hell that is." But there's also a lot of psychology involved, like on the spot psychology, analyses, conclusions, and stuff like that. And I learned all that. And it translated beautifully to paranormal investigation, because you're also dealing with evidence. You're also dealing with people and who have witnessed things. You have to take their reports. And you're also dealing with not only psychology of the client, but the parapsychology of the potential spirit that you're interacting with or investigating. So it paired quite nicely with paranormal investigation.
Well, now, so considering your career as a PI, and that is both as a private investigator and a paranormal investigator, what experience has had really the largest impact on how you view or have developed your awareness of the paranormal?
You ask fantastic questions. So, oh gosh, and I'm so deep in considering your question, I actually forgot what it was. Can I ask you to repeat that, please?
Sure. I was just saying, considering your career as a paranormal investigator and private eye, what experience has had the largest impact on you, and how has that developed your awareness of the paranormal?
I see what you're saying. Okay. It's really kind of interesting. Most of my work as a PI was background checking. Sorry, I gotta mute my phone. So background checking, and like I said, court documents, like, yeah, he was in court for this, he was in court for that. This is what their rap sheet was. This is what their bank account was, if I had access to bank accounts through the client. And it really kind of gave me a better sense of people in general, as opposed to being there for the interview process when they first come in and say, here's my problem, to giving them, not only investigating all that, and then giving them the final portion of, like, okay, here's what we found. That's exactly what, I just noticed it says PI. That's awesome. I forgot I had that up there. So, yeah. You're brilliant, Derek. Just to put that together. He's like, I'm still a PI.
It's funny you say that, because I have a friend who is a poet, and his writing name is Big Nick. And the one day I'm like, that's really clever how you did that. And he just kind of laughed at me and looked at me funny. And I'm like, Big Nick, Beat Nick. And so I had to explain to him what a beatnik was back in the day. about,
That's awesome.
And I'm like, well, now that I've said that, you can use that as a story how you came up with your writing name.
I dig it. That's awesome. That's outstanding. So what I'm sorry, you asked me what inspired me, or did we cover that part already?
No, yeah. I mean, all I asked was, what was the biggest impact, and then how did it develop your awareness
of
the paranormal?
Okay. My awareness of the paranormal was always there. So let me answer your question in reverse. Just because I always constantly heard ghost stories, funny stories in my family alone about funny feelings I got. Like, the classic mother instinct. I had a feeling my kid was in trouble, so I truck in the other room and they're choking on marble, as an example. Pretty horrible example now that I think of it. But that type of thing. So I was always kind of aware of those types of things anyway, and I guess you would classify me initially as a believer. I wanted to believe, I'll say that. I was a kid reading UFO magazine when I was super young. I was the kid watching Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of. Big Star Trek fan too. So when I saw him on TV again, what's that about? And everything Leonard Nimoy had to say in that show, I was glued to and absorbed. Right. So I was always a believer per se, and it transitioned into why am I a believer? And then once I started asking that question of myself and watching others ask that question as well, why do you think this is the case? It just really, it did enhance my take on an approach to looking into the paranormal and trying to find answers. That's chiefly what it was. I mean, I'm one of the few paranormal teams out there that doesn't go, yep, that's a ghost, have fun, and out the door we go. Thanks for the cookies and coffee, and we're gone. But so, we do try our very, very best to provide answers, and having a psychic on the team that I believe in that had to convince me, and Henry when he was around, because, he helped me recruit our psychic, JJ. And that guy was not convinced. It's like, psychic, sure. The funny thing is, he was the one who said we need a psychic because we don't have that ability. We just have to find the right kind of psychic, the right psychic. And we did in her. And she was fantastic on this one case. The initial case we brought her in on, she cleansed a house. When it happened, you could feel the shockwave from her get out, whatever, her command, I guess. And we all felt the clients were sitting on the couch. Henry and I were sitting before them doing a short re-interview, just getting some extra details. And we felt it. It was like if you ever visit a Civil War reenactment, the cannon goes off, you feel it in your chest. Yeah, we all felt that.
That's wild.
And the result after this boom was everything changed in the environment, because it was stuffy, stupid hot in that place, and it shouldn't have been, because it was a crisp 55 outside, nice, pleasant evening, and not even with all the windows open, the AC going full blast, that place was a furnace. As soon as she did her thing, the air cleared. It was only too cold. And Henry looked at me and says, "We found her." It was great.
Nice. So a couple of weeks ago, we had Daryl Marston on to talk about his book. And one of the things that he had mentioned is he really prefers not to use any equipment at all. Is that the same for you, or do you kind of prefer some equipment? What's your favorite piece of equipment if you do?
Oh, sure. In the team as it currently exists, I am the tech guy. I kind of always have been the tech guy. I'm the dork who built his own computers when he was younger. That guy. Yeah, tech guy. I love technology, especially when we have technology used for one thing, and intended rather for one, but we could use it for our field as well. The K2 meter comes to mind, although I don't like the K2 meter. I have this wand thing. Actually, JJ got it. It's her piece of equipment, but she gives it to me and says, "Go check the house," and I do. Even though I'm the lead investigator, she's telling me what to do. But it's really cool. It detects both the EMF and radiation, which is pretty cool. So I do like that. In fact, on the case we had a couple weeks ago, it was crucial in identifying a lot of problems in this one residence, where they were living in a house that was built in 1948. That was my stomach. I'm sorry. I hope you didn't hear that. And the wiring had not been updated since that period, so it was bleeding a lot of electromagnetic activity, including the fuse box, including and some newer appliances were there. They were in a inverse Faraday cage. They were in a fear box. I think is to borrow from Jason. We were talking about ghost hunters earlier. Fear box, totally, and that's what it was. And the funny thing is, the two women who were living there, or are living there still, they're sensitive anyway. You know, they have a little bit of psychic abilities, and it just enhanced what they were seeing and overclocked their brains, their minds, to where they would perceive a lot of interesting things that most of the men in the house and those who did not have ability couldn't detect. And the funny thing is, my psychic JJ was able to confirm a lot of what they were seeing, that was pretty cool. It's all right on. And so when it comes to equipment, I like the EMF meter wand thing. I don't even know what it's called. I think it's an EMF wand. And then I really want to find the better free cell phone app that has the SLS capability. I dig the SLS cameras. Those are great. The one I had only had 5 minutes of free, and I had to pay some outrageous price just to get another hour. It's like, come on. So I got to do a little research on that. I was going to say
GhostTube is really good with all of their apps, even the free versions. So
I'll check them out.
Yeah,
I'll check them out
because they have an SLS. They have a kind of like an Ovilus, and then just kind of a ghost box type deal. So
right on. I'll check them out. We use ghost boxes too. We have the actual little radio that doesn't work. You know, that's basically what it is. But funny thing is, we're in that we use this the box on this last case, and it was, I don't know if it was because the EMF was there boosting things, but we caught every single country station and every single Spanish station. We could not get a radio station is what I'm trying to say. It was bizarre. It's like, where is this coming from? And we cycled through that thing for a while and said, screw it, we're just going to go with our obvious light device, and we use that instead. And we got some interesting results there too. I do like that. And don't knock it. Night vision capable cameras, and the more close to the 4K, if not better, go for it. Definitely. I have two 4K little knockoff Sony things, and they're fantastic, not only for regular recording, but their night vision's pretty impressive too.
Yeah. And we are a fan of the Ghost Box, and I remember when we first started our investigation team, Justin, he didn't want to buy one. They were expensive. So he did the literal Radio Shack hack, and we'd go to Radio Shack and try to find all these pieces, and he put his own together. And I will tell you, like, personally, the Ghost Box, although it's like a favorite thing to listen to, like check out, it annoys the heck out of me. Like, it is just, oh my gosh, my ears are bleeding. Like,
I'm with you.
Still listening to this.
You can only listen to that for so long.
So long. But the one thing that I always find interesting, or not interesting, I should say frustrating, is other investigators, and I forgive me if you're one of these investigators, who will use the Ghost Box, record all these various voices that sound like legit responses, but then use it as significant evidence to support the haunting. Which, for me and Justin, that's the one thing we don't do, because it's just like we don't know for sure. There's so many voices coming in on that box. It's very possible there's plenty of coincidences. And I recall one investigation that we did in particular. We were literally the first team to do an investigation at Jeffrey Dahmer's childhood home.
Nice get.
And so he and another team that we were with, we kind of did a collaboration with them. They were listening to this box, and there's this whole thing happening about some mysterious hidden book. And of course,
a diary.
Okay. And then they told the owner about this diary, and now the owner wants to know everything about the diary. He wants to dig up things. He wants to know, this and that and that and this. And it's like, dude.
And he had a renter there on top of it.
Yeah, we can't say that this is legit. Like, we don't know if there's really a diary. It just so happens that this came up, and
Right.
I don't even think they asked about a book or anything. It just like popped up, and they went with it. It wasn't Justin who went with it, but the other team, which we only have so much control.
Well, at the time, I didn't have a speaker. I just had some headphones that people were listening to the
Right.
Ghost Box on. So
We switched to they called it a word generator. It generates random words. After the Ghost Box failed to not receive. So we went to we had two different versions of two different types of voice generators, and hers, JJ's, was spouting all kinds of crazy stuff that was pertinent to the questions being asked. And then on a number of occasions, hers and mine somehow gave exact answers, which is cool. When that happens, I think you're dealing with some legitimacy. But to rely on the voice box and the Ghost Box exclusively, I think is not wise. Less than wise, because you got to take everything into consideration. Right. I mean, you really do, especially when you're dealing with things you can't, at least I can't see.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's like, if someone called us to do an investigation, you walk in, you feel like, oh, yeah, it feels like there's something here. You know what? It's haunted. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna leave. Like, it doesn't work that way. You actually have to investigate.
Yes. Oh yeah, dude, I've run into a lot of back in when we first started. This town I'm in was replete with a bunch of would-be investigators, and we'd hear about them grabbing all kinds of different cases. Like, really, you went with those guys instead of us? And they were disappointed. The clients were disappointed every single time, because it was very much like what you just said, Eric. Yep, there's a ghost. And I was like, go. And now the other thing they had not going for them is they were all afraid of everything. They were afraid of everything. They have their own YouTubes somewhere, if their accounts are even still active, where they are literally screaming and running out of a room. Now, there's some serious stuff that happens sometimes when you do this job, but go running out of the room screaming, man, you got to tough it up a little bit, You can't be the person that's scared of the ghost if you're there to investigate them. Not in my personal estimation, anyway. I mean, yeah, people have different levels of fear and acceptance and what have you. But, I mean, if you're going to get into this work, you have to have really thick skin.
Right.
Or at least thick enough not to run away from the first, bizarre noise you hear in the walls.
No, 100%. You definitely can't be faint of heart when it comes to this stuff. Yeah, you're dealing with something most people can't see, right. And things sneak up on you. And I right off the bat of my mind is like Ghost Adventures. Zach Bagans. I mean, he gets into some crazy stuff, but when something scares him, he's the first to run away. And then he regathers himself. Oh wait, shoot! I'm supposed to be a tough guy. Goes back in.
Right.
Oh, it's probably not there anymore, dude. It's gone.
Yeah. For all his bravado, he goes stepping into places, where it clearly says "Do not trespass," especially in historical places. It's like, dude, come on. Yeah. That's not cool in the first place. His approach to ask for forgiveness or apologize later kind of a thing, that doesn't fly. Not in reality. Not really. I guarantee you they had full permission to go into those places, and they just
for sure
played it up.
For sure. I mean, you can only pay as a guerrilla filmmaker for so long before getting busted eventually.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Filmmakers have all been. All of us have been there. Yeah.
I mean, that's something Daryl Marston's brought up too. Is don't be going into these places that are abandoned or owned, privately owned, and you're not going to be able to get in there without permission. But the other thing is Erik brought up the Jeffrey Dahmer house. I was touched there, and I calmly said, "Okay, guys, I'm going to go outside for a minute.
Good move.
And I'll be back." Because it was during the Ghost Box session, and I'm like, "Okay, if you're here, prove it. Touch one of us." And I just got this light brush on my neck, almost like somebody caressing my neck, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, you're here, guys. I'm going to go outside. You guys keep going. You guys keep going. It's
We have confirmation. Goodbye." I like it. Oh, that's really cool, though. I mean, and you handled it correctly. If you are scared or does it put you off, get out of there in a calm and collected way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, if you do show those emotions, they chase you down one way or another. It's been my experience, and I've also witnessed it in other teams that have, because I was a guest investigator, I guess you can call it, and several different things because they wanted my input, but they always, and I always ended up with someone clutching onto me like a scared little kid. And it's like, yeah, all right, loosen up a little bit. If you gotta step outside, step outside.
It's like, I mean, if these are the type of people, who get scared that easily, they're in the wrong type of haunted house. They got to be going into those things that are around during Halloween and walk through.
Right.
And it's incredible to me how many people though do the investigations. They're there for the thrill of it more than anything. Not to help like you are. Which in certain cases is fine if you're doing something like graveyard investigations or something like that, someplace that's open. A home that's open to you. But even like you were saying, the one investigator who gets into places supposedly that are restricted and off limits, it's like clearly they have the okay to go, because if they're posting that, whether it's on TV or online, and the owner of that place sees it, there's the hard cold evidence that you're trespassing, and they could easily get you in a lot of trouble.
Yes, absolutely, especially in a historical location.
Oh yeah,
you're dealing with a lot of potential damage to stuff that cannot be replaced.
Right.
So I mean, that just don't do it. The other side of all this is you have the guys online, especially. There was this one British dude, I can't remember his name, but he was an abandoned house enthusiast. Like, that was his gig, and he goes in one time, and it was the most staged thing I've ever seen in my life. I think it even made it onto like one of the early episodes of Paranormal Caught on Camera, like season 1 or season 2 of that show. And it made it on, which surprised me. Because there's some stuff on that are clearly CGI, in my opinion. And in this case, it was clearly someone playing a really bad practical joke. Not even that, but a practical joke on the audience, the viewer. And he goes into this house, it's abandoned, and oddly, there's a ladder going up to the attic. Oh, should I go to the attic? Yeah, why not? I'll tough it out. So he's up to the attic. And then he hears weird scratching behind him. He whips around with his camera. Beautiful 4K image, I'd add. And he's got this really surprisingly powerful light that has his flashlight. And it looked like a 250, Erik, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, 100%.
And there's this creature / dude. It was a dude sitting there in a black top of some sort, almost looked like a judge's robe, and he's got these gloves on that don't fit. You can see the gap on the arm between the robe and the gloves, and they're scary looking gloves. He's got this mask pulled over that doesn't quite fit him because his neck is exposed a little bit, and it's got the skeletal kind of form airbrushed on it or something like that. And then suddenly, and he drops his flashlight. The funny thing is the beam falls first and then it goes out. He just, it was pretty obviously staged. And then he pops it back on again. The thing is on. When he gets back downstairs, he toughs it out. He's gonna brave the rest of this house. And another one of these creatures, very similar, pops into the window and gives him a scare. And this was clearly a woman. So there were two people being this fiend. Apparently they only had one mask, though. the woman was in some skeleton, again, airbrushed. It wasn't like a classic Halloween skeleton outfit, but, I was really, how should I put this without being a chauvinist? She was exceptionally attractive in her suit. And clearly very well-endowed woman. And compared to the dude who popped up. And it's like, I hit pause, like, oh, okay, very nice. And then moved on. Again, he drops the flashlight and runs out. That's pretty much where the video ends. But it was clearly made up. And I see this all the time. People trying so hard to create something scary, pass it off as real. Right. And it bugs me that they call themselves investigators, paranormal investigators, because it just damages our reputation indirectly. It's like, you're not one of those guys, are you? No, I'm not. So, if you're out there and you make those videos, stop it. You want to see a real ghost? I'll help you out. I know a couple of places.
We need that Peter Griffin clip. Stop it. Stop it.
We used to play a lot of those type of clips on our very first show ever back in like 2008. It was just a few words from us and everything else is just clips of these animated characters. I don't know why people listen.
That's awesome.
But speaking of knowing places you would take someone to see a real haunting, what is some places or a place specifically that stands out to you as one of the most interesting or even most scary places that you have investigated?
It wasn't a real investigation. It was more like a vacation, like a staycation-ish kind of a thing. We have an extended team that, of investigators that come into town. They join us and we all go on a big hunt together. And in this case, I wanted to have fun. We hadn't seen these people in a long time. So I said, let's just, we'll keep our investigator eyes open, our hats on, so to speak, but let's just go have fun. So there's a tourist place here called the Winchester Mystery House. You may know of it. It's was owned by Sarah Winchester and her husband. That is the Winchester of Winchester gun fame. Okay. And she had this, after her husband died, she fashionably consulted a psychic and a soothsayer or something like that. And the psychic said, the spirits are telling me that, all the angry spirits that your husband's guns killed are seeking revenge. So you have to keep building your house. It was a big mansion already. And then she added something like 75 rooms, 25 bathrooms, and this just kept getting built up until the day she died, basically. And it takes up, I think it takes up a legit acre, this house, and its yards, and its grounds. And I could be wrong about that little tidbit, but it's gigantic. And one of the things there, the ghost hunters went there too, and they panned it. And so, you know what? Too many people have seen stuff. Let's just go. We're going to check it out. We'll go with the tour group so we're not too obvious. And this is the closest I will ever get to doing a guerrilla investigation. Is go with a tour group. So we're going along. And we get to this one section where all the repairs to the house were managed. So they had pre-fitted frames with stained glass in them. It was really beautiful. Crown molding that was pre-carved and ready to go in case something happened. Wall units. It was beautifully done. Beautifully done. They preserved most of this quite well. And we go through this little workshop area. Then we go upstairs to a secondary wood shop area. And I wasn't even trying. I was the last one in. I'm being the total tourist with my little cell phone. And I catch this odd flash out of the corner of my eye. And I look. And in like a purplish haze, there's this dude that does not belong there. And he's got this driver's cap looking thing and a hat, and he's got the, I think he had a handlebar mustache and a nice little beard, got a little Van Dyke going. And he's got overalls and a work shirt, and he's working on something, sawing, and he goes like this, and then he disappears in front of my eyes. My camera was right there. Did not pick up. I'm so pissed about that. Of course. Naturally. But, and, can I indulge you and ask you to pause real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So anyway, I couldn't find the picture, but so we're on the rest of the tour, and I in the interim I told my team about it, and we get to this other section of the house where Sarah, since I know her so well, Sarah, the owner of the house, had to have all these stairs modified because her arthritis was getting so bad. I heard a dog. She couldn't take full 6-inch steps to go upstairs, so they had to modify all the steps to 3 inches so she could do water, skitter her way upstairs. Anyway, so we're at this one section where they're pointing this out, and if you look here, we have pictures of the staff that took care of her in her later years. And if you look at the gentleman on one far side, he was known to be a bit of a womanizer, and people have said, and especially women say that, they'll see him or hear him whisper in their ear like something, "You're foxy," or something really old-fashioned that was a flirt way back then. And or they'll loosen their bra straps, the bra connector and back, and just randomly, you'll see your girl do this and the thing. Well, that happened to JJ, my psychic. She's going, holy crap. And it was after everyone had gone upstairs. We lagged a little bit, just, investigators, how we get. Right. But she says, "Tim, the bra came undone," just as she said that. It's like, that's crazy. Look at this picture. And across, so the Florida guy was at one end. On the other end was the guy with the mustache, the driver's cap, and the overalls. It's the same dude I saw upstairs in the workshop. I was crazy, just crazy. So they say the Winchester Mystery House isn't haunted, but I beg to differ because we experienced some things there, And then we also had a unique other experience. We're running low on time, but
oh, you're good.
Okay, let me show you all this image real quick. So this is at the top of one of the 3-story sections of the house. As you can see, this thing goes way out there a little bit, but in the first image, you'll notice a little white blob. Then I blew it up, and I blew it up again, and I caught these odd UFO things. They weren't there. They weren't in the sky, as far as I can tell, but my camera caught them.
Right.
And I ran this past Joe Montaldo, who owns the UPRN that we're on. And he says, "Oh, Tim, yeah, I've seen those before." And I said, "Well, Joe, I've seen other people with photos almost identical to this in Ohio and Florida. So, you go to the Winchester Mystery House, catch a UFO or a ghost, it'll happen." I hit the wrong button, sorry. But it was... So I can probably show them a ghost at the Winchester Mystery House, even on a tour, because it happened to me. Is it going to happen to me? No. Other favorite places I like to go is this one graveyard that's abandoned. It's really cool.
Ooh,
it's out in it's out the Saratoga Hills, and you go up there, and it's an old cowboy graveyard, and whoa, there's some stuff there that happens. Cool. Lots of fun interactions.
Now, are there any places that you would tell people outside of, abandoned places or places you don't have permission to that you should not go to do investigations at?
Yes. And it's happening more and more, not pretty much across the nation. And it's weird. There was the satanic panic back in the 70s where all these, one cultist group gets caught in the middle of like the Minnesota forest, and suddenly they're all over the world. It was kind of interesting. Well, there's apparently recently there have been a few pentagrams found, and some interesting sights along hiking trails in the area. So there's, you know what? Let's not invite anything to follow you home that you don't want to. So if you run across one of those sites, I'm not especially superstitious, but at the same time, I've been in this business enough that there's more out there than is dreamt of in one's philosophy, to paraphrase Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But so
I think. So I live in Cleveland, and Cleveland is highly superstitious just in general, like the people here. So I grew up that way. But when it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to hauntings or just anything that's paranormal, like I don't think superstition necessarily has a place, but like it's just word of caution, because there have been so many things like you who've seen things that we can't really truly explain. I've seen some really dark things. I've gone through some really dark things with demonic activity and whatnot. And like, there's plenty of people who are like, that's not real. I'm like, well, I beg to differ. I got 3 months in my life that begs to differ.
yeah,
And it's so funny because like, we've had friends, we've had people on the show who didn't believe in the paranormal, and they just happened to accidentally open some sort of door.
Oh, God.
And then boom, they're
don't get me started on Ouija boards, man. Those are my bane. Yeah, watch out for Ouija boards. Don't do Ouija boards. Stop doing Ouija boards if you're doing Ouija boards, spirit boards, talking boards, whatever it is you want to call them. Do not do them. The fact that Mattel or Hasbro, I can't remember which, put out a Ouija board as a game, it's fun.
Yeah.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
My opinion of spirit boards has kind of changed over the years. I've always said, don't do it. But as I've grown older, I've started saying, don't do it unless you know what you are doing.
Excellent way to put it.
Do not.
Yes.
Most people will not protect themselves. Most people will not, do the greeting, say the goodbye, and stuff like that. And even Erik and I have kind of jokingly said, because I just bought a new round Ouija board. I haven't had one in years. But we've said we really want to try doing the Ouija board again, because it's been so long since I've done it, and it's been a really long time since he's done it, because I think both of us had this really odd experience with the Ouija board as a teenager, and then that kind of shaped our opinion of Ouija boards and spirit boards. So
yeah, I get it. And yes, you can do it safely with protection, as you said. At the same time, and you said teenage experience. Yeah, I had one too. It was kind of impressive, really. There was this pet tortoise my friend had. We were at his house, and it was in its tank. And, someone ultimately says, "Show us the proof that you're actually here." And suddenly the tortoise goes walking across the board. It's like, so, and we were all sitting there. No one moved, there was no one else in the house. So
that's wild.
Yeah, that was extra fun.
All right, Tim. Well, we do have to wrap up so we can do your show as well.
Yeah.
So I want to give you the chance to tell everybody where they can find you, find the show. The mic's all yours.
I am on Instagram at paranormal.insight. And then I'm on YouTube at paranormal_insight. And you can catch all my episodes there, and the few things I do independently on Instagram too. Usually they're just ads for the shows, but once in a while I do something kind of fun. I copied Phil from Exploring with Phil, and he does the same. I'm going to try something. So I did the same thing with a new Denny's item I've never tried before, and that went over okay. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on ParaTruth Reborn. I'm going to put you in limbo for a second so we can close out, and then we'll get to your show.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Make sure you check out Paranormal Insights, whether you're listening to the group show that we're doing or listening to all of his shows. He does a great job. But make sure you check it out. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. I haven't confirmed the guest for next week yet to make sure they'll be on, but I will do that, and we'll be announcing that on our socials. But until next week, folks, where you will find us same time, same channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Eric. Peace.